mountainside. The shepherds stood up, they knew not whither she was gone.
Knew not whither she was gone.
But after her lover, but after her lover,
But after her lover,
amid the sound,
up and down,
up and down, up and down, he walked, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, he walked, up and down, he walked, up and down, he wandered, up and down, he wandered.
she was missing.
She was missing
When he
found
her, oh, then they fell a kissing.
Oh, then they fell a kissing, oh, then they fell a
Kissing up and down, up and down,
up and down, up and down, he walked, up and down, up and down, he walked, 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 up and down, he wandered.
oh, she was missing.
Now she was missing when he found her.
Oh, then they fell a kissing.
Oh, then they fell a kissing, oh, then they fell a kissing. Si uongo kweli ni jina la Bwana Yesu. Ni jina gani ulimwenguni litupasalo? Ni jina gani ulimwenguni litupasalo? Si uongo kweli ni jina la Bwana Yesu.
Nalipenda, nalipenda, nalipenda.
Si uongo kweli ni jina la Bwana Yesu.
Nalipenda, nalipenda, nalipenda.
Si uongo kweli ni jina la Bwana Yesu.
Nalipenda,
Jina hilo,
nalipenda,
jina hilo, ninaringa na tamba nalo jina la Yesu.
nalipenda,
Jina hilo,
nalipenda,
jina hilo, ninaringa na tamba nalo jina la Yesu. Ni jina gani ulimwenguni litupasalo? Ni jina gani ulimwenguni litupasalo? Si uongo kweli ni jina la Bwana Yesu. Tamburi, Dory.
Sweetheart, come along with me to the music so entrancing. Gay and lively melodies, it will set your feet a-dancing. Come along to the dance family, to the dance and sing. Let enjoy his eyes, my darling. Come along to the dance family, to the dance and sing. Let enjoy his eyes, my darling.
Boom, the bass is booming, Simba sing. Boom, the bass is booming, Simba sing.
Strike the merry, strike the merry, sound the bass will sound, the bass to hear the pipeful pipe is dainty to the merry drumming. Dance and turn to the music lively, step and toss to the measure sprightly, more and more and more and more, never, never end. Music lively, step and toss, measure sprightly, never ending, bending, bowing gracefully, like a gently swaying flower. Heaven sent you to me, I never turn sunrise or downward. Your sweet face is my heartbeat, are you far more fair when you washing straw than roses fresh in a garden? Your sweet face is my heartbeat, are you are more fair when you washing straw than roses fresh in a garden? Than roses fresh in a garden.
Tambour, 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 Buriam Danny Dory.
My sons will cause my young to sell for you, for you to the sun.
So good to sing my poor so pretty.
All the sweets come to court and will you do mine own true and forever.
All the swains come to court and woo you.
Be mine own, my one love true, and joy will last me forever. Joy, joy,
Joy will be ours forever.
joy, joy.
Joy will be ours forever.
All the sweets come to court and will you do mine own, my one love true, and joy will
I sing because I'm happy.
I sing because I'm free. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me.
I sing because I'm happy.
I sing because I'm free. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me.
I sing.
Oh yes, I sing.
Because I'm happy.
I sing.
Oh yes, I sing.
Because I'm free. For his eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me.
I sing.
Oh yes, I sing.
Because I'm happy.
I sing.
Oh yes, I sing.
Because I'm free. For his eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. I'm so happy, yes. I'm so
yes. I'm so happy, yes I am. I'm so happy, yes. I'm so happy, yes I am. I'm so happy, yes. I'm so happy, yes I am. For his eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So you believe that that is our signature song?
alisema. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Yesu mwenyewe alisema, wana amani wale waombao, wana amani wale waombao, wana amani wale waombao. Yesu mwenyewe alisema.
know who's supposed to start this thing, so I'll do it. Unless someone stops me, no one's stopping me. Okay. You can be seated. Hi. Oh, no. Hi. There we go. Good afternoon. Thank you, everyone, for being here. My name is Ocean Kalin. I am a trustee on the Metropolitan State University Foundation Board of Directors. I'm also a very, very proud alum and honored to be here today. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, staff and faculty, students, friends, family, college and university dignitaries, and honored guests. Thank you very much for being here. I do want to say thank you very much to North Hennepin Community College Chamber Singers for our opening music. That was really wonderful. Thank you. And so welcome to the Virginia Arthur's, Ginny to her friends. I think we're all her friends. Okay, everyone in this room is her friend. Welcome to Ginny's inauguration, Metropolitan State University's 7th president. Congratulations and thank you. Do we have a flag? Yeah. If you can, stand as you're able and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. So I'm thrilled to invite Virgil Mountain Blacklance and his associates to come to the stage and offer a Dakota blessing and honor song.
How's everyone doing? Good. Thank you, Madam President, for inviting us here today. It's quite an honor to be asked to come and be a part of this. You know, one of the things that I was thinking about a lot about what to say, and a lot of it was brought back to my mother. They always used to say that mother is the word of God on the lips of hearts of all children. And throughout the history of Native Americans, it was always the woman who began a lot of the change in our history. In the Battle of Little Bighorn, it was the grandmothers that stood up and they encouraged the warriors to protect the women and children. At the Battle of Wounded Knee, it was also the women that stood up and told the warriors, if you are not going to fight, then we will do it. And so it is that way in history that women are a big part of our family units. They are the first ones to wake up in the morning and the very last ones to go to bed at night. These are some of the things that I was thinking about. It is in that respect that I think about Madam President as being a woman, a leader of this facility, because it takes a woman to move the earth. Men always used to say, and we always say, we need to find somebody. After 7 presidents, we need to find somebody to fill the shoes. We have found somebody to fill them shoes, but they are not man shoes. They are high heels. One of the things that we talk about our fights for recognition is our children, our Native American children, all of our children for that matter. And one of the highest regards is having a lot of our spiritual people and a lot of our dignitaries were gifted headdresses made of eagle feathers. Well, the story, in short, is that the duality of man was created, one in the Fertile Crescent, and the other in the Black Hills. The Star Nation people brought us to this earth. And one of the very first gifts that we were gifted was a headpiece that was adorned upon our head, gifted from our ancestors. History tells us, our teachings tell us, that these headpieces were a connection to our ancestors. It was through these things that the mind was opened and a pathway was made so that us as human beings could elevate ourselves to gain knowledge. So today, this is one of the reasons why our children are not allowed to have eagle feathers on our graduation caps. We are trying to break through because they have power. Power that a lot of us either have been conditioned not to recognize or been kind of led away from all of us. All of us are our ancestors. We have a spiritual background, but we have been conditioned to be disconnected from that part of us. So today, I have made a song for Jeannie because it would touch my heart that she herself had asked that we come back for this event. And we want to start this off in a good way. We want to open a doorway from here to the Earthmaker, and that he could look in on each and every one of us and bless our lives. And we want to ask in a good way that that blessing be taken on. In our Native American culture, we always say there are 3 things that absorb negativity. One of them is plants, like this, living things. They absorb that negative energy that we carry around, we pick up in the earth outside. The other is Wakayanja, is that we call them sacred beings, little children. You ever notice when older people tend to argue and stuff, the first thing the woman does is she grabs the baby. The baby will cry because the baby is taking on that burden. The other thing is our eagle feathers, our sacred things. They will absorb these things for you so that you don't have to carry that on your back. So today, this is what we want to do. we want to present an eagle feather to the president so that all of the burdens, all of the stressfulness, all of the things that she has to think about, decisions that she has to make, that this feather will absorb those for her, and that she doesn't take all of these things home to her family. So we're going to ask Madam President to come up, ask my wife to step forward. So what we're going to do is I'm going to sing that song for her, and then, Madam President, you can stand there, and then we'll have you stand here. This is my wife, Name Ikwe. I always like to say my wife likes to stand behind me. That's her proper place, but she always tells me that the only reason why is because someone has to tell you where to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sing a song, and we're going to ask if each and one of you, every one of you that can, to stand in honor of this and respect for the president. And when I'm done with the song, she will present the feather to you 4 times, and on the 4th time, then you can receive it. Just so you know, I sound better in the shower, so I'll try. Okay, face her. Put your hands out. Okay. On after the song.
Remember, that's a sacred part of Mother Earth. Be good to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Blacklance. That was something. Thank you. Chancellor Rosenstone. Dr. Stephen Rosenstone, Chancellor of the Minnesota State System. Will you share a few thoughts with us?
Ladies and gentlemen, today's inauguration is part of a tradition that goes back well over 300 years. It's a formal rite of passage, acknowledging a change in leadership at its very highest level. It provides a sense of continuity in the midst of change. Continuity is also symbolized by another tradition that stretches back to the Middle Ages. A new president is entrusted with a symbol of office, such as a presidential medallion. This is a moment when we join together from all across Minnesota to help Ginny Arthur and Metropolitan State University celebrate the start of a new chapter in the university's history. It's also a moment for all of us in higher education, faculty, staff, and leadership, to remind ourselves of our shared sense of purpose, to change students' lives, to deepen their understanding of the world in which they live, to open their eyes to what's possible, and to prepare them with all they need to realize their hopes and dreams. It's a moment for all of us to recommit to our calling, the advancement of knowledge and learning, the commitment to treating all people, regardless of race, color, national origin, or sexual identity, to treat all people with dignity and respect, and to renew our commitment to serving the people of Minnesota. Moments like this create a special sense of unity. This celebration of community and solidarity in support of Ginny Arthur provides a wonderful feeling that makes us know that life is good and full and meaningful. And for those of us who know Ginny Arthur and have the privilege of working with her, today is a moment of great pride. President Arthur, we are proud to be associated with your work, the excellence of your service to Metropolitan State University, and your service to the students and communities that this university serves. With our heartfelt support and deep appreciation, congratulations.
Thank you, Chancellor Rosenstone. We're honored to have Mayor Chris Coleman of St. Paul here to bring greetings, and I hear a little bit of a surprise. Please welcome Mayor Chris Coleman.
I feel like we're getting feedback here, and I'm not sure if it's from this microphone or not, but welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here this afternoon. I'm very grateful to be here on this august occasion. I always think that the installation of new presidents of universities and colleges is very interesting because normally by the time we get to the date of the actual installation, we work so much together on various things. I feel like you've been around forever, Ginny. I know that that's not true. Maybe it's a testament to how much you've accomplished already and how much more there is to come. But it has been great this last year working with you, and I'm just so pleased because Metropolitan State University is such an incredibly important part of the city of St. Paul. Not only the relationship that we've had with various projects such as the library at Dayton's Bluff that has become a center of activity for our children in this neighborhood and across the city of St. Paul. We've celebrated the opening of new buildings, whether that was the Science Center or even the Student Center across the street. When you think about what's happening in this part of the city of St. Paul on the east side here, we are seeing tremendous transformation, and so much of it is anchored here at Metropolitan State University. It is absolutely essential that we continue this partnership. But the most important thing about Metropolitan State University is the hope that it represents for so many of our young people and so many of those that are returning to learning, to present a pathway to success, to present a pathway into a 21st century economy. These are really challenging times and they're very uncertain. But there have been other uncertain periods in our past. There have been other times that have been equally challenging. But the one constant through all change and all challenges in this country is that education is the key to getting through any difficult time. Education is the key for our children. Education is the key for our families. And when our families have a pathway to education so that they can be a part of what is happening in our city, they can learn the skills, they can have the knowledge that they need to be successful, then anything is possible and any difficulty can be overcome. At Metropolitan State University, the mission, the very core of Metropolitan State University is that sense that through education anything is possible. And more importantly than that everyone can be a part of that educational message. Too often, so many of our members of our community see education as something that other people have an opportunity to pursue. That is not something that they can be a part of. But Metropolitan State University is a pathway for all. I've had many opportunities to come over and talk with students. And when I see the hope in their faces, when I see what Metropolitan State University presents for the students here, I truly understand the important role that this university plays here in the city of St. Paul and quite frankly, across the state of Minnesota. So for what you have already brought to this institution, for what I know we will continue to build together as a city and in a university, I want to say congratulations and welcome. I don't know that this is a tremendous surprise or that this is particularly, on the day you're being installed, I assume that they gave you a free parking spot, which is about the only thing that is good about having your day named after you is you think that there's a free parking spot for you, but that's not really true. We will tag you if you park illegally. But I do want to present this to you, President Arthur. Thank you. Whereas Metropolitan State University has since 1971 served the higher education needs of the residents of the city of St. Paul with excellence and innovation. Whereas Virginia Ginny Arthur, since 2012, served with dedication and distinction as the Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs and the Executive Vice President and Provost for Metropolitan State University. Whereas the Board of Trustees of Minnesota State appointed Ginny Arthur as Metropolitan State's next president on April 20th, 2016. And whereas Ginny began her term as Metropolitan State University's 7th president on July 1st, 2016. Whereas during her presidency, she has led Metropolitan State University with vision and energy, resulting in strong student enrollments and strategic K-12 and college partnerships. And whereas during her presidency, she has deepened St. Paul's historic sister city relationship with Nagasaki, Japan, through a memorandum of understanding for academic exchanges with Nagasaki University. And whereas Ginny Arthur has, during her presidency, advanced the strategic mission of the university and superbly positioned it for greater service across the 7-county region. Now, therefore, I, Christopher Coleman, Mayor of St. Paul, do hereby proclaim April 7th, 2017 to be Virginia Ginny Arthur Day in the city of St. Paul.
Thank you, Mayor Coleman. It was a surprise to me, at least. Thank you. I'd like to invite Dr. August Hoffman, who is president of the Metropolitan State University Interfaculty Organization. Thank you, Dr. Hoffman.
Good afternoon. President Ginny Arthur, distinguished guests, and Metropolitan State University faculty, as president of the Interfaculty Organization, I would like to congratulate President Ginny Arthur in her inauguration as Metropolitan State University's 7th president. The IFO honors and respects autonomy and academic freedom, democratic decision-making, and the core principles of diversity, equal access, and inclusiveness. We share President Arthur's goals in promoting equal and fair treatment among all faculty and staff and support efforts to prepare students for life, careers, civic responsibility, and lifelong learning. Additionally, we share the university mission in the development of academic programs that are intellectually rigorous and challenge students to think critically, independently, and courageously within a political environment that increasingly relies on so-called alternative facts. While Metropolitan State University has many resources that serve as tools in higher education, perhaps our greatest resource are the students themselves. An early 2nd century scholar by the name of Simon ben Zoma defined a wise person as, quote, someone who learns from all, gaining an understanding from all of my teachers. We look forward to a productive future in building a greater learning institution that serves our students and community members. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Hoffman. And now the North Hennepin Community College Chamber Singers, as they're going to sing another song for us.
Some days it seems like love's in short supply. Instead of understanding, what I hear is an eye for an eye. There's gotta be a better way. I'm primed to do my part, so starting today, from deep within my heart,
I sing out peace,
I sing out hope, I sing out boldly so that everyone will know. Life gets better, the future's brighter, burdens feel much lighter when I sing out. When I sing out,
I sing out joy,
I sing out joy,
I sing out love,
I sing out love. Here's my chance to show the world what I'm made of. With my voice I can inspire, I empower, I enlighten. With my voice I can heal my world. From the very best part of who I am, I sing out, I sing out, I sing out, I sing out loud and strong. I sing out, I sing out, I sing out loud and strong. I sing out, I sing out, I sing out loud and strong. I sing out, I sing out, I sing out loud and strong. I sing out, I sing out, I sing out loud and strong. I sing out, I sing out, I sing out loud and strong. I sing out, I sing out, I sing out strong. We are the voice the world is waiting for.
and so we sing.
Sing like we've never sung before. We sing out peace. We sing out hope. We sing out boldly so that everyone will know. Life gets better, the future's brighter. Burdens feel much lighter when we sing out. When we sing out, we sing out joy. We sing out joy. We sing out love. We sing out love. Here's our chance to show the world what we're
Chamber Singers, led by Professor Heather McLaughlin. Thank you very much for being here. And I want to invite Michael Vekic, Chair of the Minnesota State Board of Trustees, to say a few words on behalf of the board. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished dignitaries and guests, Chancellor Rosenstone, students, faculty and staff, alumni, friends of Metropolitan State, and the friends and family of Ginny Arthur. I'm delighted to be with you on this joyous occasion, and I'm honored to bring greetings on behalf of my colleagues on the Board of Trustees, the 36 sister colleges and universities that are a part of Minnesota State, the 47 communities across our state where our colleges and universities contribute to our quality of life, business and community partners across Minnesota with whom we work to ensure the health and vitality of our state, the 40,000 graduates who will earn certificates, diplomas, and degrees this year, nearly 18,000 faculty and staff who use their talent, dedication, and commitment to provide our students with an extraordinary education that makes our colleges and universities a tremendous state resource, and nearly 400,000 students from all walks of life who turn to our colleges and universities each year as a place of hope and opportunity, seeking to create a better future for themselves, for their families, and for their communities. And so I add my congratulations to Ginny Arthur and to Metropolitan State University, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of this wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Vekic. I'd like to, at this time, invite Student Senator Pecola Oriola to bring greetings on behalf of the Student Senate. Thank you.
Members of the Minnesota State Colleges and Universities Board of Trustees, President Ginny Arthur of Metropolitan State University, members of staff and students of Metropolitan State University, community members, it is with sincere gratitude and honor that I represent the students of Metropolitan State University today to share remarks about President Virginia Ginny Arthur on her inauguration as the president of this prestigious university. Metropolitan State University is a unique citadel of learning, not only for non-traditional students, but also for students of all ages. I couldn't have chosen a better higher institution of learning. Metropolitan State University has provided me with a conducive learning environment where both faculty, staff, and advisors, with the help of my fellow students, gave me the support needed to excel in my academic and career goals. Metropolitan State University supported my career aspirations by providing the resources to build my leadership skills for my lifelong learning and civic engagement. I arrived at the gates of Metropolitan State University like a newborn, and Metropolitan State University nurtured me like a new mom, anxiously waiting for a child. I have been fed with the knowledge that has continued to guide me in my career path to advocate for victims and survivors of human trafficking and domestic violence. I consider President Arthur as an exemplary leader who has knowledge and power she uses to connect with the student's body as she serves to ensure that students' needs are adequately met at the university. I first met President Otto 2 years ago when I served on the Student Senate. I have since interacted with her at other occasions on campus. I saw her present her case with such humility at the Senate, portraying herself as someone approachable, always smiling, and being the first to even say hello to you when she passes you on campus. This is a president well deserving of such position as she is holding at Metropolitan State University. I feel very lucky and blessed to be one of the students under the care and leadership of President Otto. I would like to especially thank the Board of Trustees, staff, students, and community members for believing in the person of President Otto and believing in Metropolitan State University. Congratulations, President Otto. Thank you.
Thank you, Bukola. One of the things that Metro State really excels at is partnerships with institutions, including other educational institutions. And so it's completely fitting that we have President Sharon Pierce here from Minneapolis Community College and Community and Technical College. Sorry about that. Minneapolis Community and Technical College. There you go. Please, President Pierce.
Good afternoon, everyone. I was very honored to be a part of this wonderful event, and this inauguration of Dr. Jenny Arthur as president of Metropolitan State University, being asked to speak and bring greetings on behalf of the partnership she shares, was very special to me because, as some of you may know, I am recently arrived in Minnesota. And when I arrived, Jenny was one of the first people to welcome me. Very early on in our first meeting, she and I committed to working together, and I was very happy to discover that we share a similar philosophy and approach to cooperation, one that goes beyond a simple partnership or collaboration. Broadly speaking, partnership is a thing. It's something that organizations do, and it's often governed by a contract. Collaboration is what people do, and it's grounded in relationship. Our philosophy of working together is one of collaborative partnership. In other words, we work together to achieve mutually beneficial goals. MCTC and Metro State have a long history of working together. Over the past few years, over 2,500 of our students have transferred to Metro State. Metro State's programs in business, accounting, theater, human services, and addictions counseling are offered on our campus. This spring, over 2,000 Metro students are enrolled in courses on MCTC's campus. We are home to Metro State's College of Management and Theater programs. And notice I said home. Our goal is for Metro students, faculty, and staff to be at home at MCTC, to know that they are an integral part of our shared community. We will continue to build our partnership through dual admissions, through shared services, through expansion and shared use of data. We're delivering and offering many things to our students. We're creating efficiencies to facilitate their ability to move seamlessly from college to university. I'm excited about the future we're building together for our students and our community. Together, we're providing them access to the transformative power of education. Through collaborative partnership, we can achieve greater impact than either of us could generate alone. So today is a special day. It's a celebration. It's a day to embrace the future of this strong institution under the bold and confident leadership of Jenny Arthur. I'd like to end with one of my favorite quotes from Groucho Marx. Only one man in 1,000 is a leader. The other 999 follow women. So, thank you, Jenny, for your wonderful welcome and for being the collaborative partner that you are. And I look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you, President Pierce. It's now my pleasure to welcome Tanae Wells, President of the Alumni Association Board of Directors. Tanae, thank you.
Good afternoon. It's a beautiful day in our neighborhood, isn't it? As the president of the Alumni Association, I am honored to welcome President Jenny Arthur to Metropolitan State University. We've become really close friends. We've even talked about getting together for drinks and those kinds of things, and so I'm excited about that. But the Alumni Association is the association for all the former students of Metropolitan State. We are the ambassadors for the institution that changed our lives. We support the interest of the university in many ways, and I know I am excited to be back on this campus and to have an opportunity to make a difference in the lives of our diverse and dedicated student bodies. Over 40,000 students have graduated from Metropolitan State since that first class of 12 in 1973. We are all different. But one thing we have in common is that we needed an education that would prepare us for success in life, and we got it at MSU. The arrival of a new president is a landmark occasion in an institution's history. The fact that we have a woman at the helm who understands and prioritizes equity and inclusion in a time when our country is changing demographically is critical to the continued economic success and to the future of our nation. In a few short months, President Arthur has set forth an ambitious agenda for Metropolitan State. Her priorities to increase the number of students and faculty from underrepresented communities is a noble goal and will benefit our urban workforce and businesses. But most importantly, she has a vision to create opportunities so more alumni can live the lives that they imagine. I asked all the members of the Metropolitan State family to come back to your alma mater, to get involved, to become a mentor, to have coffee with a student, to take a class, and of course to contribute financially. But come back and become a part, an active part in this campus to help our new president make the changes that we all need. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanae. We now have Adam Klepetar, who's going to present a poem for this occasion. Please welcome Adam Klepetar. Thank you.
It's a real honor for me to be a part of Ginny's inauguration. It says in the book that my dad and she don't know how long they were friends. I do. I was 6 when they became friends, but I realize if I tell you how long it was, I betray my own age, so I'll stay away from that. But I was old enough that I babysat her 3 lovely children at one point who were in front of me. But this is really a wonderful opportunity for me because Ginny is both a friend and a mentor, but I also get to represent my parents, who are longtime friends of Ginny, who would be very happy to be here themselves, but they're in Australia, so I'm sure we all feel very sorry for them. As I said, Ginny is a dear family friend for over 30 years, so we've known one another since I was about 6 years old. First, I'd like to offer you, Ginny, congratulations from my mom and dad. They also asked me to tell the Metro State community congratulations on hiring a wonderful person as your leader. our paths, Ginny and mine, have crossed in a number of different ways. She was my college advisor when I was an undergrad, and we were talking about this last night, but I had a pretty rough first semester of my sophomore year of college, and I've grown to become the Dean of Enrollment Management, and one of the offices that reports to me is professional advising, and in our field, there's a lot of literature and talk about intrusive advising, and I think we might have created it. So I'm personally honored, and I think a success story of Ginny's unwavering support because I'm here together. I worked for St. Cloud State for over 15 years and did some work at the system office as well, where we served on a number of committees together. And there I also saw her as a mentor and a friend, but mostly as a bold and intelligent leader. The last time that I saw Ginny and Tom before coming back to Minnesota, my wife and I attended a Midsummer Night's Dream with Ginny and her husband Tom. And we had this really lovely time together. And I thought this particular quote would be appropriate leading into reading my father's poem. And then I realized I set my dad up to follow Shakespeare, which is maybe not the greatest idea in the world. But in the play, Shakespeare wrote, "And as imagination bodies forth the forms of things unknown, the poet's pen turns them to shapes and gives to airy nothing a local habitation and a name." When she climbs. Success is a journey, not a destination. Felix Lugo. When she climbs, many hands help to pull her up, and she pauses on her way to aid many in their turn. Clouds part before her clear eyes. Her calm and lovely voice casts no spell, but that of reason and knowledge won from hard work, long study, and experience. It's a long journey, but not without joy, mingled with sweat and strain, vision, and a keen drive to serve. Nobody takes this trip alone or travels such a steep and narrow roads with empty hands. Come and climb with her. The best guides know the sharp sting of stones, the depth of gorges far below, and that this journey winds without ending, far beyond our sight.
Thank you, Adam. Okay, it's time for the nitty-gritty. Are you ready? Are you ready? Yes. There we go. Ginny, are you ready?
I'm ready.
This is your last chance to back out. No? Okay, good. Chancellor Rosenstone, will you join me and deliver the statement of investiture? Ginny, will you join?
We actually have a contract that's signed. She can't back out. It's my great honor to begin the formal investiture ceremony. Ginny Arthur, the Minnesota State Board of Trustees has selected you to serve as president of Metropolitan State University. And as chancellor, it's my privilege and honor to invest you into that office. President Arthur, you are charged to serve as a steward of Metropolitan State University, a steward on behalf of the university's current and future students, a steward on behalf of the communities this great university serves. First, I charge you to provide our students with an education that sets this university apart as a unique and special place. Provide our students with the opportunity to acquire knowledge and skills and to develop their creative capacities to innovate, to think, and to reflect. Cultivate in our students a lifetime love for learning. Prepare them to live a life of purpose. Enable them to reach beyond what is ordinary in life, both in what they contribute and in what they cherish. Ensure that they develop a deep understanding of what it means to be human and the obligations associated with being a member of a community. See to it that this university is a safe learning environment so that all students develop a supreme regard for the rights and dignity of all people. Teach our students to work together with others on behalf of the common good. prepare them for a life of citizenship, and help them learn to act from their hearts. Second, I charge you to serve the people of the Twin Cities metropolitan area. Help ensure the strength and vitality of the civic, cultural, social, educational, and community organizations of the entire region. Partner with business and industry to ensure the economic vitality of our state. And in everything you do, I charge you to be a good neighbor who is there to help out whenever and wherever you can. And third, I charge you, Ginny Arthur, to use your qualities of leadership, your sound judgment, and your personal integrity to reduce disparities and to collaborate with colleagues across Minnesota to advance teaching, learning, and public service to the benefit of the people of this great state. And it's now my privilege to call upon Michael Vekich, Chair of the Board of Trustees, to administer the oath of office and present you the Presidential Medallion. Trustee Vekich.
This is the fun part. President Arthur, by the authority granted me by the Board of Trustees, I now ask you to raise your right hand and repeat after me to take the oath of office. I, Ginny Arthur,
I, Ginny Arthur,
do solemnly pledge
do solemnly pledge
to faithfully commit my ideas and efforts
to faithfully commit my ideas and efforts
to the goals of Metropolitan State University
to the goals of Metropolitan State University
and to the colleges and universities of Minnesota State,
and to the colleges and universities of Minnesota State,
that they may be better served the individual and common educational endeavors
the common
the individual
and common educational endeavors
of the people of Minnesota.
of the people of Minnesota.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I hereby present to you the Presidential Medallion, the symbol of the office of President of Metropolitan State University. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I now call on Chancellor Rosenstone to present President Arthur.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have the great honor and privilege of presenting to you a proven leader with an impressive track record of experience, a fervent advocate for students and their success, a person who's committed to excellence, opportunity, collaboration, partnership, and trust, a person of enormous integrity, authenticity, and courage. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the 7th President of Metropolitan State University, Ginny Arthur.
It is now my immense pleasure to present Metropolitan State University's 7th President, Virginia Ginny Arthur, to deliver her inaugural address.
Thank you. Oops. No, that's not going to work. Chair Vekich, Chancellor Rosenstone, Mayor Coleman, members of the Platform Party, trustees, university and college delegates, honored guests, faculty, staff, and students, community members, family, and friends. Welcome to Metropolitan State University, and thank you all for sharing this important day in the life of the university with me. I extend my deepest gratitude to all of you who have had a role in helping me reach this stage on my journey. And as far as I can see, it's nearly everyone in this auditorium or watching on live stream. Your friendship, support, encouragement, challenges to me, and confidence have given me the courage to continue to seek new ways of serving students and our community. I've come a long way from the scared first-generation college student who had no idea how to navigate the alien world of higher education. I cried myself to sleep nearly every night of my first semester, really annoying my very confident and worldly roommate. She moved out. I am the youngest of 6 children, and I am so pleased that my oldest sibling, my brother, Charles Patrick, his wife, Frances, and 2 of my nieces, Patty and Mary, are here to spend this day with me. They traveled from upstate New York, where I was born, and I can tell you, it's not an easy journey to Minnesota. I am so lucky to have a spouse who for the last 37 years has enthusiastically cheered me on, telling me I can do anything, and backing that up by being a full partner in parenting and homework, or at least in ignoring what needed to be done around the house. My 3 children, Abigail, Anne, and Alexander, have lived with and through the sometimes tumultuous times of a dual career family, and I am enormously proud of the people they have become. My grandsons, Michael and Matthew, are the world's best stress relievers, or at least until they learn to operate video recorders and make me a star of America's funniest home videos. And of course, I am most thankful to Chancellor Stephen Rosenstone and the trustees of the Minnesota State Colleges and Universities who have entrusted the stewardship of this treasured university to me. I am at once honored and humbled to be invested today as the 7th president of this university. This work is a calling for me. The core values of Metro State are so closely aligned to my own. It's also a pleasure to recognize and welcome so many of you who have long-standing commitments to the growth and progress of this amazing experiment called Metropolitan State. Thank you for your investment in the 40,000 plus students who have already been enriched and launched, or in some cases relaunched, by this university. Since today is a day for reflecting on both the university's past and its path forward, let me say just a bit about our founding president, David Sweet, and his spouse and partner, Arlene. David Sweet was certainly a visionary who was supported in his work of launching this university by Arlene, who remained a faithful friend of Metropolitan State up until the time of her death just a few weeks ago. Arlene created the presidential medallion that I am proud to wear today. Its rough-hewn sterling is a reminder that this enterprise, Metropolitan State, while of great value, is very much a work in progress and not a polished piece for display only. With both David and Arlene Sweet very much on our minds, I'm deeply honored to recognize their daughter, Karen Sweet, who is with us today. Welcome, Karen, and thank you for being here. In higher education, we like ceremonies where we get to dress up in medieval garb and that are full of symbolism to mark these important transitions. Your program describes many of the symbols that you see, but I want to take a moment to call attention to a few symbolic aspects of today's ceremony because they are integral to how Metropolitan State University will be fulfilling the theme of today's inaugural, leading the way for the greater good. Let me first talk about the Dakota blessing from Virgil Mountain Blacklands and his wife. Metropolitan State is situated on Dakota land, and we acknowledge that our strength as a university is built on our connection to the ancestors and the community which allow us to exist today. I am deeply appreciative of this blessing and of the special gift, and on behalf of the university, I humbly accept it and pledge to support the educational aspirations and needs of the American Indian community. Our beautiful music today is provided by the North Hennepin Community College Chamber Singers. At today's reception, you will enjoy delicious food prepared by the culinary students at St. Paul College. My colleague, yes, you can't, I shouldn't have previewed that. My colleague and friend, Dr. Sharon Pierce, president of Minneapolis Community and Technical College, brought greetings. And many of my presidential colleagues within Minnesota State honor our relationship by representing their colleges or universities here. These elements symbolize the strength of the reciprocal relationships within our system that nourish our programs and enable our students and enable us to lead the way together for the greater good of our students and the state. Metropolitan State strongly values these partnerships, which are integral to achieving our goals, and I thank our partners for their generosity. Our processional and recessional music selections are somewhat unconventional for a U.S. university inaugural, but were chosen to symbolize the multiplicity of cultures that enrich our academic community. I am pleased that our distinguished alumna, Brigadier General Sandy Best, the first female general for the Minnesota National Guard, is a member of the Platform Party today because Metropolitan State leads the way by serving the largest number of veteran students in the Minnesota state system. Indeed, I am equally proud to say that General Frank Grass, who was the first general to represent the National Guard on the Joint Chiefs of Staff, is also a distinguished alumnus of the university. These symbols, honoring and learning from the past, partnership to serve students and community, inclusion, and service, are integral to how Metropolitan State is and will be leading the way for the greater good. In thinking about how honoring learning from the past prepares this uncommon university to lead the way for the future, let me tell you a story. Just a little over a year ago, as the search for a new president for Metropolitan State was coming to a close, I received an email from one of our library and faculty members with some exciting news. In a box of papers, recently retrieved from storage at the Minnesota Historical Society after 3 decades, was a file labeled David Sweet's Miscellaneous Papers. These miscellaneous papers included a letter from then Chancellor Ted Metow to Dr. Sweet, outlining the characteristics of the new university he was seeking to establish, and Dr. Sweet's response. When I had a chance to see these founding documents, to see the vision Metropolitan State's founders had for us back in 1971, I realized that the core values and commitments of that time are still vital to how this university will continue to lead the way. What are those principles? First, Metow and Sweet agreed that Metropolitan State should be innovative and non-traditional. The assertion was based on Dr. Sweet's observation, and I quote here, "Higher education today is in great difficulty, awaiting significant innovation, experimentation, and reform." I just attended the Higher Learning Commission's annual meeting, and speaker after speaker echoed Dr. Sweet's point. Now, as then, innovative, flexible, and non-traditional approaches to higher education are needed to assure access and affordability, and to maintain our democracy, build an equitable and just society, and minimize the extreme economic disparity that is corrosive to our shared prosperity. Metropolitan State has been preparing for the past 46 years to meet the needs of today's learners, who tend to be older than average, place-bound because of family obligations and the need to work full-time, and who are maturing in communities that have not had past success in either accessing or navigating higher education. While many colleges and universities are grappling with implementing credit for prior learning, competency-based degrees, on-demand and community-based learning, year-round scheduling, and delivery in multiple locations, Metropolitan State has been doing these things since its founding. But while the university can take satisfaction in its prescient accomplishments, it needs to look forward to new innovations that will meet the needs of learners in 2030 and beyond. We are looking to our recently created Center for Educational Innovation to stimulate that thinking and conversation and keep Metropolitan State in the forefront of meeting these evolving needs. Second, Metow and Sweet believe that Metropolitan State should be a college with the community as its campus. In fact, they persuaded the Minnesota legislature that this was so, and the statute provides that the campus of Metropolitan State University is the 7-county metropolitan area. While an early unofficial tagline for Metropolitan State was the university without walls, that was a misunderstanding. The point was not about buildings, but about presence, being where students were and removing the barriers for those who wanted education but weren't able to access it on a traditional campus. Thus, a more appropriate tagline for this university is the university without barriers. We need our walls to serve more than 11,500 students, house nearly 1,000 employees, and provide the computer and science labs, library resources, technology-rich classrooms, and administrative functions necessary to deliver quality academic programs in student services. But our commitment to bring education to the student and remove the barriers of travel or time is stronger than ever, as evidenced by our partnerships that bring degree programs to the campuses of our sister colleges around the Twin Cities. This idea as community as campus also captures a core feature of our educational philosophy, which holds that knowledge takes many forms and is situated in the communities in which we are embedded. To live this educational philosophy of community-situated knowledge, Metropolitan State pioneered ways to document informal, experiential, and context-based learning. Credit may be given for knowledge acquired from experiences, but those experiences are rigorously tested in terms of competencies. We have a cadre of more than 500 community faculty who bring their lived experience and expertise into the classroom so that we can accurately identify and test those needed competencies. The notion of community as campus also underlies the university's unwavering commitment to civic engagement. We are proud that our faculty collaborate with community partners to offer more than 400 course sections with the Community Engagement Designation, meaning that our students are learning from, with, and alongside community experts. Through this engagement, our students are prepared for success and leadership in their careers, and with an understanding of the responsibilities of an educated citizen to apply their knowledge and skills in service to the public good. President Sweet's observation that Metropolitan State is not an enclave within the cities for those who want to retreat from the urban environment and its issues is exemplified today through partnerships that advance community wealth building, such as the Eastside Economic Growth Initiative, work with hospitals and major healthcare employers in the Central Corridor Anchor Partnership, engage the region's workforce innovation boards in K-12 systems to forge cradle-to-career pathways, or to partnerships with school districts like Osseo or Hopkins designed to multiply the teachers of color in our urban schools. Partnerships underlie our most important work and are our most effective strategy for fulfilling our mission. As stewards of place, we work with our neighborhood organizations to assure that our physical campus here in St. Paul is a community resource. As we anchor the university more prominently on the west side of the Twin Cities through our academic partnerships with Minneapolis Community and Technical College, North Hennepin Community College, Hennepin Technical College, Anoka Ramsey Community College, Anoka Technical College, and Normandale Community College, we will become working, contributing members of those communities as well. The third principle of the founders is that Metropolitan State should serve non-traditional learners and meet the unmet educational needs of the Twin Cities. Initially, unmet needs included women whose educations had been paused to start families and working adults who sought advancement but could not attend daytime classes. In the 1970s, it was exceptionally difficult for students who attended junior college to transfer into four-year institutions to complete a bachelor's degree. President David Sweet summed up this revolutionary vision in a way that is completely contemporary. We are a college for those who have no college. So who doesn't have a college in 2017? Let me explain it this way. Last year, the State Demographer's Office produced a groundbreaking report on the economic status of 17 distinct cultural groups living in Minnesota. It illuminates facts about Minnesotans that show us why this founding principle of Metropolitan State is so critical to the economic, social, and civic health of this region. Minnesota's white population is certainly the largest cultural subgroup, comprising approximately 82% of the population. However, they are also the oldest. Many of my friends in that group. And shortly, there will be more white Minnesotans over the age of 65 than there are white Minnesotans under the age of 18. By contrast, more than 50% of the Hmong and Somali population in Minnesota is under the age of 18. Those children are the workers and community leaders of the future. Consider that of Minnesotans of prime working age, defined as 25 to 64, about 35% have a bachelor's degree, while white Minnesotans exceed this rate with about 37% having a bachelor's degree. But among the Ojibwe and Dakota, the rate is 8 to 9%. Somalis, 11%. Mexicans, 12%. African Americans, 17%. For the Hmong, degree attainment is about 21%. Why does this matter? Well, the evidence is overwhelming that attaining a bachelor's degree brings economic security, as it provides access to better paying jobs and a lower likelihood of unemployment, even during recessions. Attaining a bachelor's degree is also a good predictor of civic engagement, and on average, according to happiness researchers, and of course there are happiness researchers, produces greater overall happiness and well-being than not having a bachelor's degree. In addition, a well-prepared workforce is absolutely necessary for the state to attract and retain the types of employers that provide higher level, better paying, and more satisfying work. The relatively high levels of education among our current population are directly tied to the fact that we have so many Fortune 500 companies headquartered in the state, and the active business and nonprofit community that exists. So what keeps people from achieving a post-secondary degree? Well, factors on that list include poverty, language skills, lack of trust in the educational system, time constraints, family obligations, and lack of knowledge about how to access higher education. Given our state demographer's information and what we know about the importance of education to a healthy and vibrant community, it is more important than ever that Metropolitan State provide access and opportunity for students who don't necessarily believe that a university education will ever be theirs. I see many indications that we are on the right track to turn these educational gaps around by developing the rich talent that is resident in the Twin Cities. After all, 42% of our students are from American Indian nations or communities of color, and this percentage is rapidly increasing. Among our students newly entering the university this academic year, nearly 50% come from these communities. Let me give you just a couple of examples of our work. For instance, among our first cohort of 12 doctorally prepared nurse practitioners who graduated last May, one was Lebanese, one was Vietnamese, one Nepali, one from Kenya and one from Nigeria, one Hmong woman, one from the Sioux Nation, and two were Caucasian. As I saw those students cross the stage to receive their degrees, I knew I was looking into the future face of leadership and service in the state of Minnesota. Our social work program is renowned for the diversity of its students and for its emphasis on educating culturally competent social work practitioners. Practicum placements occur in community agencies serving culturally diverse populations in the core Twin Cities. This passion and commitment to developing underutilized talent is the reason that the Hmong Nationalities Organization recently invited me and my executive team to a community meeting and welcoming ceremony. They passionately expressed their desire for higher education for themselves, their children, and their grandchildren. They want to partner with a university that respects and honors the cultural backgrounds of its students and will help preserve that cultural heritage. Metropolitan State is one of a dwindling number of universities which maintains an ethnic studies department. During the ceremony, they presented me with a traditional Hmong baby carrier to remind me that I, as a representative of this university, carry the hopes and aspirations of the community on my back. They know how to get you. Indeed, I understand that this university carries the hopes and dreams of many traditionally underserved students. It's a daunting but sacred responsibility. These are just a tiny sample of our stories, but they illustrate how Metropolitan State leads the way for the greater good by making education available to the widest possible group of students, creating an environment where they can build on the strengths of their cultural differences and comfortably develop their knowledge and skills. They, in turn, lead the way within their families and our communities to a better life. It is Metropolitan State's unique destiny to serve the Twin Cities and the state by nurturing and developing rich but underutilized talent. In that regard, I am particularly proud of how Metropolitan State University is leading the way in social mobility. As we collectively examine some of the most troubling aspects of our country's current issues, there's growing evidence that an increasing divide between those who have wealth and material goods and those who have little contributes to the erosion of empathy for others in our society and results in polarizing political and social discourse. A nonprofit group called CollegeNet has developed the Social Mobility Index for higher education. The index measures the extent to which a college or university educates more economically disadvantaged students, which is defined as those with family incomes below the national median at lower tuition, so they can graduate and obtain good paying jobs. Metropolitan State ranks 87th out of 918 four-year universities in the sample, and it is #1 in Minnesota. This is an important economic and social outcome of being a college for those who have no college. I heard a gifted speaker last year, Fareed Zakaria, once say that when you want to recapture your audience's attention, just utter the words, "in conclusion." He reckoned that would give you about 10 more minutes. Well, now that I have your attention, and I've terrified you about what might be still to come, I will just take a little more of your time, because a president just can't give a speech without also noting some of her other points of pride about her university. For example, Metropolitan State has been selected for a second time by the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching to receive its community engagement classification. The university has again been recognized by the National Security Agency and the Department of Homeland Security as a center of academic excellence in information assurance. Metropolitan State has been recognized by the International Center for Academic Integrity as a campus of integrity for its distinctive program, which treats integrity violations as an opportunity to learn from a mistake rather than a reason to impose punishment, and that uses the process to have a conversation about cultural variations and norms and how those can be best acknowledged and navigated. It's true that Metropolitan State does not have competitive sports teams, which may in itself be a bragging point. But we do have a competitive cybersecurity team. They placed second in Minnesota 2 years in a row, and this year they placed first and went to regional competitions in Chicago. You should see their cheerleaders. As recognition for the design and implementation of our racial issues graduation requirement, Minnesota State's Office of Equity and Inclusion bestowed their Best Practices in Equity and Inclusion Award on the university earlier this year. In 2016, Metropolitan State's nursing program received the Higher Education Excellence in Diversity Award from Insight into Diversity. We are proud that faculty members from our School of Urban Education and their dean have been recognized by Minnesota Campus Compact for helping found the coalition to increase teachers of color and American Indian teachers in Minnesota. And as a demonstration of their belief in a metropolitan state education, Diana and Bob Carter just recently gifted $2 million to the university to provide research and scholarship support for students majoring in natural sciences. Their son, Jason, who passed away last May due to complications from leukemia, was a biology student. This gift, the largest in the university's history, honors the academic quality, student support, and flexibility which enabled Jason to realize important life goals. As varied as these activities are, and many more that I have not named because I know I'm running to the end of my 10 minutes, they are expressions of Metropolitan State University's mission, vision, and values. In particular, there are signposts along the way towards keeping the promise of my administration's strategic intent statement that will guide our efforts to lead the way. Metropolitan State University provides an excellent, inclusive, and engaging education to eliminate opportunity gaps and lead the Twin Cities community to a prosperous and equitable future. It is an audacious statement, but Metropolitan State was founded to be an audacious educational innovator. So let me close now, for real, with a quote from John Quincy Adams that a soon-to-be alumnus, an employee, and friend recently shared with me and which I shamelessly appropriate. If your actions inspires others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. I pledge that this is how I will lead Metropolitan State, and that this is how the Metropolitan State University community will lead the way for the greater good. I look forward to your support and partnership in this endeavor. And now, in the words of my favorite children's book, let the wild rumpus begin.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you very much. You know, it strikes me that this is a little bit like a wedding, where part of the ceremony is about the couple, but as much or a bigger part of the ceremony is about the community, about the friends and the family. And it means a lot to me to hear what you're pledging to do for the university and for the community. But it strikes me that we have an obligation too to make some commitment to Jenny and to the university. So I'm wondering if we could would everyone here in the room and online, would you agree, would you vow to do everything you can to support Ginny in her role as president? Will you do everything you can to work with Ginny to make this university the innovation center that it deserves to be? Will you all write checks to Tanae for the Alumni Association? I tried. All right. Thank you. That's the end of our ceremony. Thank you all for attending. Some logistics on how the rest of this is going to work. So the platform folks will leave. We'll go out there. Then you can all leave. You'll go out there. If you head out to the quad and then make a left, our reception's going to be in that big, beautiful main building. And as Ginny mentioned, the food is presented by the St. Paul College. Yes, thank you very much to them. It was fun to hear stereo yums out there and yums up here when she said that. I also do want to thank Paradigm Reporting and Captioning for the captioning of our ceremony today. Thank you for that. Yeah. And now, I'd like to invite the North Hennepin Community College Chamber Singers to now perform the recessional.
Pumale pese café, maman voy en su bota. 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 Pumale pese café.